Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions and always do your best. These are the 4 agreements that are listed in the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. My name is Brendan, this is The Lost Tribe, and this video that you're watching right now is my compilation of the previous videos that I've made on the 4 agreements. And while I might think that it's pretty cringy because I'm watching me in the past do YouTube videos in the early stages of my channel, I think you guys are going to get some pretty good information out of it, especially if you haven't seen it before or if you haven't read the book. But without further ado, here's the 4 agreements.
If it came down to it on the battlefield, if going to war, I would not want that person to be in the trench next to me. So there's this book I've been rereading called The 4 Agreements, and if you're about to write it off as just another lame self-help book, you'd be wrong to do so. Following the 4 agreements and putting them in your life has the ability to completely transform you, and I'm not even lying, it's not even an exaggeration. The author goes into how we've been making agreements since the day we were born between people and just how the way the world works. We've been making agreements and coming to agreement with how everything is in this universe. But he says that the only agreements that are important are the ones that you make with yourself. And of those agreements you make with yourself, if you make just these 4 simple agreements, you will completely change your life for the better. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. So he goes over how words are spells. They're magic. Your word is very powerful, and I've talked about this before. Your word is powerful, so use it wisely. And he says that since your words are spells, people who use words in a bad way are dark magicians. It's bad magic. For example, if I tell you that you're stupid, right, and you actually believe it and you internalize that, then I just did magic on you. That's bad magic. I did dark magic on you, and now you will think you're stupid until you stop believing that you're stupid. And then you reinforce it with your own words and your own internal words, telling yourself that you're stupid. So he says to not only not do dark magic to people around you, but don't do it to yourself, because to be honest with you, a lot of people do dark magic in that way to themselves all the time. They tell themselves that they can't do this or they can't do that. I can't write a book. I can't climb a tree. I can't be the president of the United States, just as an example. But that's keeping them from doing it because they've internalized that idea in their head that they can't do it. And so, in result, they won't be able to. And I've realized that I've done it with myself, and this is why I tell you that this book is very life-changing, because I had a very horrible, bad internal dialogue, and I would tell myself that I couldn't do things, when in reality, I'm one of the most capable people I know. And once I changed that mindset, that capability of me was able to come out, and I was able to show people how capable I was, and it literally changed my life, just even following that 1 agreement. And even Ruiz says that following this 1 agreement will solve 90% of your problems. But I will take it a step further than Ruiz did with the rule of being, or the agreement of being impeccable with your word. To be honest with you, I just think everyone should do it, aside from not jinxing yourself with bad magic and having a bad internal dialogue. It's because Tony Montana said it the best. I only have 2 things in this world, my balls and my word, and I don't break them. When I see people that can't keep their word and aren't impeccable with it, and they say things and they make promises and they just can't keep them, or they lie, then I don't like them, to be honest with you, just to be flat out. I don't like them. If you can't keep your word, then how good are you to me or anyone else in this world? How good are you to yourself? Well, actions speak louder than words. If you can't be a man, or for that matter, a person of your word, then you're essentially worthless. No one's going to trust you. You just lost all of your credibility by not being able to be a person of your word. And me personally, when I see someone, if they say something, and obviously you can't always, because of circumstances, follow through with your words, But like if they say something and they can't follow through, and it's like a constant issue, and when they follow through they can't even make it right, like when they tell me they're going to do something and they can't do it, it's I put a lot less trust in that person in general. It's like if it came down to it on the battlefield, if going to war, I would not want that person to be in the trench next to me, because they can't even do a simple thing as like, and it's a constant thing, oh yeah, I'll take out the trash, or yeah, I'll pay you back on Friday. Next thing you know, it's 3 months go by, the $300 you gave that person, it's like, yeah, no, they're nowhere to be found. So if you want to fix 95% of your problems, and you just want to be a better person and be someone that people trust and look up to and respect, whether you're a man or a woman looking for the respect of another man or woman, whatever it is, be impeccable with your word. There's no other way to live, in my opinion. If you don't have your word, you don't have anything, because your word is bond, your word is magic, and if you can't use your word and your word doesn't hold weight to do magical things in a good way and big things, then you're nothing.
Alright, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I said that whole cringy bit earlier in the beginning, literally before I even watched any of these videos. And I was really wrong. Despite being one of the earlier videos in my YouTube journey, the flow and the thought process and just getting out proper information was perfect in that video. And to be honest with you, I really do miss doing my videos outside, and while I can do it here in Virginia, it's sort of really hot, one, but also I'm near Richmond, so there's not really much areas to go outside and have privacy to do videos, or honestly anything that's nice, because I'm not gonna lie, I miss the mountains. And in that video in particular, I had a beautiful view of a lake and no one was around except the mountains and the trees. But I digress. I wasn't lying at all when I said being impeccable with your word will fix 90% of your problems, and you should aim to be impeccable with your word. And I'm not really going to go into that more, because honestly that video said all I needed to say and then some. So funny story, remember how just in the beginning, like literally about a minute or less ago, I said that I actually really liked how I made that video and how I wasn't as cringe as I thought I was? Well, me back then thought that that video was ultra cringe and made a second one of the same thing. And normally, just to save your time, I would literally take out the video that I just showed you and put in the actual video that I have on my channel. But I'm going to show you both. So I'm going to play that one right now, and no more commentary after this one. It's going to go straight into agreement number 2. So enjoy this one and enjoy the next one.
What if I told you that you could fix 95% of your problems with just one simple thing? Ah, yes, it's me, back at my humble abode of a park bench in the middle of an empty park. But I'm redoing this video because on the first one, part 1 of this 4 agreements, I had horrible energy. So here we go. Anyways, what if I told you that you could fix 95% of your problems with just doing one simple thing? Well, you indeed can. And if you've read the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, you would actually know that. So, in this book, Don Miguel Ruiz goes over that we make agreements our entire life, whether it's with friends, family, the government, even just how space and time works around us. We have made all these agreements. And that's how we have navigated our world. That's how we've been brought into the world to understand how things work. And we, like, for example, we agree that the trees stand up. They don't stand down, right? Or the sky is blue. He says, end of the day, the only agreements that matter are the ones that we make with ourselves. And if you make 4 simple agreements, then you will find yourself no longer in hell, where most of us put ourselves, but in heaven. And you will be in heaven while surrounded by the hell. And I'm really heavily paraphrasing on this, and which is why I suggest to read the actual book. So, agreement number 1, numero uno, is be impeccable with your word. Now, he says that and I've said this before too, is words are spells, and spells are magic. And your word is magic, and it's a very powerful thing. So you need to use your word impeccably. And what I mean by that is that you shouldn't talk bad about yourself or about other people. As an example, if I told you that you were stupid and you believed it, that is me casting a dark spell on you, like bad magic on you in that way. Because if you believe it and you internalize it, then you will go through your life believing that you are stupid, which is not the case. It's just me projecting something onto you, and you will keep yourself trapped in that until you drop that belief of you being stupid. And obviously it doesn't happen overnight. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that a lot of things take time. This is a way of self-improving, so it takes time. You can't just, I'm done, I'm better. But the point is, your words have power, and your internal dialogue does too. So you should be using your internal dialogue to tell yourself that you can do everything. And on a personal experience, I used to have the worst internal dialogue. I used to have the most self-doubt. And I literally put myself in hell, quote unquote, and made myself a worse person because I told myself that I couldn't do anything, when in fact, not to toot my own horn, but I am one of the most capable people I know. I've done a lot of things. Like, just as an example, I lived in Ecuador for 3 months. Like, if you asked me back then, 10 plus years ago, if I was going to do that, I'd be like, no, it'd be nice, it'd be cool, you know, the best version of me would do it. Well, that was me. I did that, and not even at my best version of myself. So stop telling yourself what you can and can't do. And that's what he says, being impeccable with your word. And I'm going to put that a little bit further, is that not only spiritually and just physically, the way you talk about yourself and about your others, but be impeccable with your word on a real note with what you say. Like, don't be a liar. Tony Montana said it best. I only have 2 things in this world, my balls and my word, and I don't break them. And that actually stuck with me, is you have to be a man, or a person for that matter, of your word. And if you're not, honestly, to me, you're not a man, and you're like worthless as a person. Like, just think of it as this example is, if you kept on you talk to someone, right, and they kept on saying, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, don't worry, I got you. Months go by and it doesn't happen, and they said that they were gonna do it on the weekend of that week. Are you gonna trust that person to be able to do anything else ever again? Probably not. Like, granted, you should always trust someone as far as you could throw them, and I could throw some people pretty far, but others not. And just as that metaphor, but I've learned to trust people with certain things and other people with other things, and some people just not at all. But my point is that if you're not good with your word, and you break your promises, and you don't stand behind your word, you're not trustworthy. You're not seen as a genuine person. You're seen as a liar. And you don't want to be a liar and an ungenuine person. Like, I mean, if call a spade, if that's what you are, then own up to it and change that fact. And it's going to be a long process for you to change it. But it's not what you should be. That's not what you want to be. You want to be a man of your word, and understand that obviously not everyone else is a man of their word, so you don't take everyone's word at face value, but you should strive at the very least for yourself to be that person. You never lie. You never steer anyone wrong with your words. You say something and you're going to do something, you stick to it, and if the circumstances don't allow you to stick to it, then you follow up and you make it better. You own up to the fact that you couldn't stick to it. You don't skirt away and be like, oh, you know, I was doing this and that, I'll get you, I promise. And it's like, no, you got to look them in the eye. Apologies. You got to look them in the eye and say, I apologize for what I did. I was wrong, and I'm going to do this to make it better if you will allow me to. That's ultimate respect, and I also feel like being impeccable with your word is a lot about respect.
Well, apparently I'm the one not being impeccable with my word because I lied to you, and I apologize for that because we're not going straight into video 2 because I have something to say about this. The amount of energy I had in this honestly baffles me, and I do recognize that person, and I apologize, I'm pointing towards my computer because I'm literally doing this right now. It is literally the night before 4th of July, technically 3 in the morning on 4th of July, and I'm just chilling. But I do recognize that person, but I haven't seen that person in a long time. And it's sort of sad. I could see the fire in me in that video. And I've lost a lot of that fire because of the situation that I've been in. And my point to me saying this to you is look after your mental health. And I wouldn't even say that, to be honest with you, if I hadn't seen that. Like, a lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, you used to be this, you used to be that. And you might not believe it. And if someone said that to me, and I'd be like, yeah, no, I see it, but whatever, like, the change isn't that bad. But that is clear night and day right there. And if you've seen any of my videos recently, I did not have nearly that much energy. And that was right before or right when I started doing the business that I'm in right now. And now you can see bags under my eyes. I got little stuff right here, and that's from stress. Because I stay up a long time without sleeping because of the job that I have to do and having to deal with, and I hate to say it like this, just incapable people. And it's surprising how incapable they are. And like, I don't even mean to talk shit, but like, it is bad. But you could see it's taking a toll on me. Long story short, look after your mental health. But without further ado, here's agreement number 2, for real this time.
4 agreements part 2, which is agreement number 2, is don't take anything personally. And by the way, there will be a link in the description, or I'll pin it in the comments, wherever, for this book if you actually want to check it out. I actually recommend it. It's an amazing read. Don't take anything personally. So he says that pretty much people will do things to you and around you in your life, and will say things. And when you match this with the first one, which is be impeccable with your word, and like, don't take any, like, so it's like that talks about you, just as an example, just from a word standpoint, you not using your words for dark magic. But if someone uses their dark magic towards you, first off, don't internalize that. And that's in the agreement number 1. But the second part is don't take it personally, because people will say things and you don't know what they've been through that day, and you don't know how they're feeling and what their even mindset is, or even if they don't mean to say something in a certain way, but you take it as a certain way. Like, and that even goes into rule 3, which is don't assume. And like, boom, I'm gonna put that up here. So like, at some point I'm probably gonna add the tag, but maybe not, because I don't really know how to use YouTube that well. But anyways, he said, even to the point that someone puts a pew 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 to your head and pulls the boom button, and because YouTube, I have no words for you, YouTube, but pulls the boom button and does it, don't take it personally. That's an extreme example, because like, I mean, if someone did that, you have no option to take it personally. I mean, you could actually come back and haunt the crap out of them, in which case you would be taking it quite personally. And I sort of don't blame you, but at the same time, take nothing personally, because even think about it. When you take things personal, it's you holding a grudge. Like at the highest degree. At the lowest degree, it's even just like, oh, this guy, he's being a you-know-what, he's being a DICK, let me clap him real quick. That gets you into trouble, and it brings down your energy, your mood, whatever it is. Like, I feel like this book is just meant to teach you how to be ultimate monk with like everything, and like the 4 basic things, and you could go through life being unbothered by a single thing. It could be downpouring and you're just like, oh, it's raining, that's beautiful. Like, take nothing personally. And that's not to say not to defend yourself, because that's a whole different thing entirely. It's like, you want to defend your own life, but someone attacks you, and it's even like, take it from a fighter stance, like, they get into the ring and they know they're going to be boxing each other. They don't take it personally. I used to not want to get into the ring because I thought I would take it personally, and I was like, I don't want to go against my friends like that in a ring, because I know I'm going to get butt hurt. So I just avoided it. But the point is taking it personally, or anything personally for that matter, puts you in quote-unquote hell, and it brings down your mindset. You could be having a beautiful day and someone does something, and it could ruin the entirety of your day. And like I said, at the worst case scenario, you hold a grudge that could last multiple years. And then when you get to the end of that, you finally realize, and this comes from wisdom, is like, you finally realize, I was like, why did I hold that grudge? It wasn't even that important anyways. So-and-so called my beard garbage, and I hated him for the rest of my life. I took that personally. There's no need to. It makes you angry. It keeps the bitterness inside you, and that is what you need to avoid, honestly, in everything. And like I said, I think that's what this book is all about, is keeping the bitterness away and keeping yourself in a state of calm, tranquility, and happiness in heaven. So, without me rambling on and continuing to ramble on, don't take anything personally. People do things in life, and whether they mean it or not, it's on you to not take it personally and not take it to heart and just brush it off and roll with the punches and just say whatever, because things happen.
So I'm honestly surprised I didn't cover the point that I'm about to talk to in this video, because I thought I did. But a big thing that plays into the second agreement is that ultimately people are selfish. And they do things that benefit themselves. Maybe I covered it in another video, I'm not sure. Maybe it's probably in the next video, who knows. I'm about to see, because I'm literally watching this with you, even though it's not a premiere, which is semi-weird. But we'll roll with it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you just have to understand that people are selfish, and all to different degrees, but they're motivated by self-interest, and that's why you shouldn't take things personally. Because aside from someone having a crappy day or whatever the case may be, ultimately they're looking out for their best self-interest, and sometimes that means screwing other people over. And unfortunately in this life, some people don't have the morality to not screw other people over, and even if they do, it's an acceptable loss for them. But anyways, this is agreement number 3.
So welcome back to part 3 of the 4-part series of the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. So the third agreement that you should make is don't assume. Just like I'm not going to make any assumptions about whether that tree that's creaking menacingly behind me is going to fall down or not. But you got a front row seat. Let me know if it's falling. Anyways, so we've all heard the saying, don't make assumptions because that makes an ASS out of you and me. Well, 1, it's true. And 2, making assumptions literally puts you in the hell that Don Miguel Ruiz talks about. So listen to this. Say you're going to go out, right? And you're going out with your friends, but last minute, your friend calls out. You can either take it as fact and just be like, okay, he's not coming out. Or you could start making assumptions that, oh, you know, he's going to go hang out with his girlfriend, or he's going to go hang out with other people, or you know what, he just doesn't want to be bothered with something tonight, or he's feeling sad or down. But you're making assumptions, and you're all the possibilities are going through your head, when in reality it's none of those. Maybe he just felt sick and just didn't want to come out, because, you know, why would he spread his sickness to anyone else? It even goes to the point where just anticipation and making assumptions about things in the future. If you make assumptions about things in the future, and in a bad way you make those assumptions, you're being anxious about it. You're reliving a possibility over and over and over again that might not even happen. If you're assuming that the test that you're going to take is going to be bad and hard, you're giving yourself anxiety and all this stress over something. It could be there's only one question, and it's what's 1 + 1. And obviously I'm being facetious when I say that, but that's the point. And that's why he says not to assume, because you put yourself through a lot of pain. You put yourself through the anguish of possibilities that puts you in a hell that you would be better off if you didn't just assume, because you're going off things that aren't facts. You're not going off facts at all. You're just going off like things that your head makes up. And don't get me wrong, I fall into that a lot, and this is one that I still have to work on, because I constantly assume. I'm a very analytical person. I like to think a lot, and I know a lot of things. So when something happens, I will automatically sit there and analyze and look at the multiple different ways or things that could be happening, and a lot of them put me in anguish. I probably still won't stop that like, and just the analyzing, because it's a very useful tool to have, but I will cut out the part that puts me in anguish. And like, I have been doing really well at that, and telling myself is like, you don't know anything at this point until you have physical proof. You treat your mind like a detective, and it's a court of law. It's like, until you have physical proof, there is no verdict. It's up in the air. It's like a deck of cards. It's an infinite multitude of possibilities and probabilities until you actually flip the card over and you're like, all right, that one's next. That's exactly why you don't assume. Because if you do, you'll make an ass out of you and me.
So I wasn't expecting this one to be so short and sweet, but that doesn't mean that it's any less important. Assuming leads to you taking offense, and you taking offense leads to drama, and nobody got time for that. And I got myself really good with this one, up until a point where I was around people, and this isn't me blaming anyone else for my downfall or anything like that, but you are the most like the 5 people you hang out with the most. And it's not even just to be your friends, it's people you interact with, and you pick up stuff like that. And I found myself being around people who complain and gossip and assume, and slowly but surely, because I had to be around those people, aka I lived with them, it sort of brought me back into that. And this video is a reminder to me, even, to not assume. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this law, even though the first law is literally God power level, this one is just as much God power level. It takes out so much stress from your life, it's not even funny. It makes you unbothered by anything, because the assumptions that you make about situations in your life cause half the stress in your life, whether it's honestly mainly anxiety about situations coming up, or just frustration with other people. If you just don't assume things and just make yourself okay with not knowing the answer, not needing to know the answer for why, as I said in that example, someone didn't come out that night, or even just the test, or anything along those lines, you could apply that to your life with these basic examples. My point is, it makes everything a lot more stress-free and a lot more simple. But without further ado, here is the last agreement, number 4.
Part 4 is do your best. Now, you could say, oh, well, of course, Brendan, do your best, and it's like sort of a cop-out way to end the book. But it does have a lot of weight to it. So on the most basic level, when you're working on the first 3 agreements and you're doing them, you're putting them into your daily life, but you realize that you fail one, if you beat yourself up, you will send yourself into the spiral and nullify those first 3 agreements. And that's where the 4th agreement comes in, because it's telling you, you're agreeing with yourself that you will always do your best. Whether that's this much on this day or this much on another day, it's like you do your best and you're okay with it. But there's also a caveat in there, which goes, I should say, nothing more or nothing less than your best. Because if your best is here on one day and you go here and you just keep on doing that, you are going to burn yourself out, and that is going to put your level of best down here. Because I know a lot of people don't see it this way, but it's like Newton's 3rd law, and just the first law. Nothing can be created nor destroyed. So if you're taking energy, if your best is here on a day, and you make it so that your best is here, and that's the effort that you put out, that effort's coming from somewhere. It's from the future. That's exactly what it is. So you're robbing energy from the future. It's like taking a loan so that you can have energy for the day. And like, you can get away with it for one day. And I wouldn't even do it with this, because just always do your best. Keep at your best level and be satisfied with that. You could do it with other things, but with your best, I would not. Because with other things, it's like, do you know what? We need to really put in some serious work today. Let's do it. But you can't keep that up forever. But the main point of this agreement is to not beat yourself up over not going 110% every day, and to keep yourself from getting burnt out from trying to follow these agreements, because it's not easy, especially when you first start incorporating them, to get into a positive mindset. And even that, to be honest with you, the reason why I'm posting this so late is because I've had negative thought and self-speak come back into my head. So I was failing on my first agreement, and it probably was because I pushed myself way above my limit and was cranking stuff out and doing a lot of things, and it caused me to burn out for a little bit. So I mean, I apologize for being a little late on this video. Should have been out last week, but it is what it is. But it is hard to hold on and keep up with these agreements at first, and it gets better. But as long as you do your best and you are holding on to that fourth agreement, it keeps you in high spirits so that you're not upset about not doing as well one day, or whatever the case may be. And you always tell yourself that your best, regardless of what it is okay. You can always get better, and even if you fail at whatever it is, you can always do it tomorrow, but at least you did your best. And I could understand if you felt like garbage because you knew you didn't do your best for that day, at least. If you just half-assed it, and just like, oh, whatever, and then it didn't work out, then it's like, yeah, you can be upset because you didn't fully do your best. But if you were in a terrible mood, or you felt terrible, or you were sick, or whatever the case may be, and you gave it your all, and you failed, like, you did your best. And, like, I mean, even better, just on a positive note, you felt like garbage, and you gave it your all, and you succeeded. You did your best, and your best was enough. Even if your normal best is up here, but your best that day was down here, and you still succeeded, it's like, hey, man, pat yourself on the back, do whatever you do to celebrate, and go out again the next day. Do your best the next day. But that's the true beauty of doing your best. But
So this video honestly hit it home for me where my problem lies and where I went wrong with the business that I'm in. I emphasized doing your best and your best for that day, and with this business, and like I said previously, working with people who can't do much or as much, and like me being able to do everything, so then they rely on me. I was forced to do more than my best for multiple days in a row, and quite frankly got burnt out. And honestly, I've been doing that for the past year. And for those of you who have followed me on since I've done this 4 agreements series, you can tell, because I went a long time without posting. I went months. I went like half a year without posting at all, and it's because I was so burnt out, and I did see I was burnt out. But this just reminds me essentially how burnt out I was. 1, because of seeing how much energy that I had in these videos, but 2, just putting it into words. But I did know in my head that I was burnt out, because even I would try to take breaks, and they weren't really breaks, because, you know, when you're a business owner, business doesn't stop when you stop. And even though, like, I was on vacation, quote unquote, constantly putting out fires. But enough about me. This, long story short, is the 4 agreement series that I had. I hope you got a lot of value out of it, and it's nice to have it all compiled in one place. Once again, my name is Brendan. This is The Lost Tribe, my channel. If you like this content, hit that like button. Leave a comment down below about anything that you liked about this series. If you want me to do more series like this, or if you want me to, for example, talk about mental health like I talked about earlier, because I'll definitely talk about that. And if you made it this far and you're listening to me right now, subscribe, because clearly you like the content. Once again, Brendan, Lost Tribe, peace out.